Hear from him momentarily, but in case you need a reminder on this season's huge changes in Phoenix, let's do that now, because both Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, they're no longer with the team. Beal agreed to a buyout. He joined the Clippers. Durant, he was sent to the Rockets in a historic 7-team trade. Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, they formed part of the Suns' return in that deal, but Phoenix also replaced Mike Budenholzer with first-time head coach Jordan Ott, who of course spent 7 seasons as an NBA assistant coach. And the Suns, they also signed their all-time leading scorer Devin Booker to a 2-year, $145 million max extension. The 28-year-old, he enters the season with 5 years and over $300 million left on his deal. He spoke earlier today.
You know, not getting to where we wanted to with Kevin and Brad, 2 guys that I have a high respect for and always will. You know, the opportunity to play alongside them was, you know, a lot in its own, but, you know, it'll always be a disappointment to me to, you know, not do what, you know, we all sought out to do.
I'm excited to play with Book. I think it's going to be a good situation. I think I'm going to be able to learn a lot from him, while at the same time, you know, adding what I could bring to the table. I think we're going to complement each other a lot, especially, you know, with the system that Ott's got us playing in. I think we were playing fast, and I think we're going to be able to create a lot for each other and create for others. So I'm very excited about it, and I think we're going to shock a lot of people too.
Well, if you can shock Big Perk, then you know you've really done something. Kendrick Perkins is here alongside our front office insider, Bobby Marks, our senior writer, Tim Bontemps. Perk, I'm going to start with you here. You heard Jalen Green. He says they're going to shock a lot of people. Does this include you?
You're damn right it do. I'm waiting for them to shock me, especially after the performance Jalen Green put on last in the postseason, averaging about 9 points, is the reason that the Rockets got rid of him. But I'm looking at Devin Booker right now, and I'm saying he's on the clock. And when I say on the clock, it's time for Devin Booker to show the world that he belongs, right? And when I say belong in the company of an Anthony Edwards, belong in the company of an SGA. Can he be a guy that could be that number one option of this Phoenix Suns franchise? And I'm waiting to see it. Like, yes, he went to the NBA Finals, you know, 3 or 4 years ago.
2021.
And yes, but he had CP3. He had CP3. He had DeAndre Ayton. And now all of a sudden you done lost a lot of coaches throughout these last 4 years. You done lost a lot of players. Now I'm ready to see, and it's time for Devin Booker to prove that he belongs in that elite company.
So, Perk, you aren't the only one that would be surprised here, because young Mr. Bontemps, who is sitting to my left, he just finished up a new poll, right? ESPN's NBA Future Power Rankings. And in your findings, Tim,
Bobby was also part of that.
Bobby was a part of this as well. I just feel like when we hear poll, I think of Tim Bontemps spearheading the efforts here for us at ESPN. The Suns, they finished near the very bottom. Is that right?
They finished at the bottom.
Okay.
Dead last. As you can see here, they're 30th in the Future Power Rankings. And look, when you look at where the Suns are at, it's not a huge shock, right? This ranking takes into account what your draft pick situation is. The Suns obviously don't have any draft picks going forward. It takes into account your financial situation. They just waived $100 million of Bradley Beal's contract. And it also, most importantly, takes into account your current talent level.
Yep.
And the Suns just lost Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant and replaced them, as Perk said, with Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. Like, that's not an equitable talent trade, right? So while I think Perk's points about Devin Booker are fair, there's a lot more problems in Phoenix than the state of Devin Booker's.
I always appreciate the cheer that you bring to this set, Tim. Bobby, I didn't mean to dismiss you from the poll. It was you, it was Kevin Pelton, and it was Tim Bontemps. The state of this team right now juxtaposes what we heard at Media Day as what?
Well, I have good news for you Phoenix Suns fans out there. About 3 years ago, we also had the New York Knicks on the bottom of the Future Power Rankings, and look where New York is right now as far as a contending team in the Eastern Conference. I will say this, and it might be shocking to you, they're in a better spot right now than they were a year ago because they have ripped the Band-Aid off of an experiment that did not work with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. But it's 2 years later, and now they're cleaning up the pieces here with some younger players, with certainly Mark Williams, who they went out and made a trade for Kamalovic. The problem, though, Malik, is they don't have the draft equity to kind of get them out of this hole, and they're still sitting on this Bradley Beal money, nearly $20 million a year. It's almost too late, 2 years later than when the CBA started to put the really teeth in, and they learned a valuable lesson. You can't just go out and trade for high-priced players and give up the farm to do so here, and there's a lot of digging to do so. And the Western Conference, as you know, is a bear. It is a bear to get into that top 10, and unfortunately, I think Phoenix is going to find the realization that they're just not one of those top 10 teams this year.
So you talk to coaches and to GMs and folks around the league in the process of putting all of this together, Tim, and you hear from Devin Booker, of course, he has been loyal to Phoenix and he loves this city. What do you think he should be looking at this season to be put around him to continue to feel good about this extension that he just signed?
Well, I mean, to me, it's a question about what does Devin Booker want, right? If Devin Booker wants to spend his career with the Phoenix Suns and to try to be, go down as the best player in the history of the Suns franchise, I think that's a perfectly honorable thing to do. We just saw Damian Lillard spend a whole bunch of time with Portland. He's going to go down as probably the best player to ever play for the Blazers. Like, that's a cool legacy to have. But if he wants to be a guy who has a chance to compete for championships, let's just be honest. In his prime of his career, that's not going to happen with the Phoenix Suns. There's way too much work to do. As Bobby Marks said, it's good that they ripped the Band-Aid off. They had to rip the Band-Aid off and stop digging. That's the first way to get yourself out of the problem. The problem is they've dug a hole the size of the Grand Canyon. So now to get out of it, it's just literally just going to take time, even if they do everything right. So, like I said, to me, this is about what does Devin want his career to be. He wants to be a one-team player. He wants to spend his career with the Suns. I think that's great. But if he does want to be a guy that's competing at the highest level, it's hard for me to see a realistic path that happening with the Suns.
Perk, you've been a fan of Devin Booker's over the years. Last word on this.
Well, I just want to see his leadership elevate, right? We heard last season after he came back from the Olympics, he talked about how he wanted to be a better leader. Well, we haven't seen that. We haven't witnessed that yet. And now, with him having the keys to it, not having any distractions, he have a nice young coach on the sideline. He have some guys that are going to be stars in their role. Obviously, they drafted well, getting a center, athletic big that could protect the basket, be a lob threat at the basket. It's going to take time for him to grow. Like, how are you going to guide and lead a Jalen Green the way that CP3 took Devin Booker under his wing? It's time for him to show up and show out. No more talking. Let the game do the talking, and also show that this organization has a foundation and that it's not built on sand.
We are going to have Governor.
At first I thought you said thin. I said, is it built on thin or built on sand? We are going to have. The East is more open than it's been in years. But I feel like every time you say that, then it proves not to be true. But in this case, it's because of injuries, right? Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. Nevertheless, the Cavaliers and the Knicks, they do have the shortest odds to win the conference. And speaking of the Knicks, they held their media day yesterday. Here's what they had to say about their starting lineup.
It will materialize throughout camp. I think it's too early to go in and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. The rosters, Leon and his group did a fantastic job putting together a talented, deep roster, and so you have to be methodical with your approach when it comes to declaring, okay, hey, these guys are going to start.
Obviously, everyone being new to this is going to take some time, but very excited to get to learn more and understand his philosophies and his concepts, and I think once we get started, we're gonna get off to the right path.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't start, I'll probably ask for a trade and go somewhere else.
So the good news is Knicks fans are wonderfully patient, right, about who their starting lineup, what that is going to look like here. Tim, you were actually in the building before you jetted cross country to come visit us here in Los Angeles. So fans are saying, wait, we don't know who our starting lineup is going to be, but you were actually there. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway is that it's going to be one of a couple of options.
Yeah.
We'll start with the one that we just ended with Josh Hart, right? He started 77 games last year, obviously was a huge part of their team. If Josh Hart is going to be out there in the starting lineup, that's probably going to be allowing Knicks to play as fast as they want to do under Mike Brown. That's one option they have. Another option they have is to go with Mitchell Robinson at center next to Karl Anthony Towns. They did that in the conference finals against the Pacers at Josh Hart's suggestion when they were struggling in that series. That's probably their best defensive lineup. And then the other way they could possibly go, Malik, is they could start Deuce McBride next to Jalen Brunson. Now, yesterday, Mike Brown talked a lot about wanting to get Jalen Brunson off the ball, wanting to get more threes in transition. And if you want to space the floor and have the best shooting out there, Deuce McBride of these three options is the best shooter of them. So there are a few different ways the Knicks could go, which is interesting given this is a team that spent so much time with those five guys.
Yep.
OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Brunson, Towns, and Hart on the court together last year. But I do think one of the big storylines of the preseason across the league is going to be what direction Mike Brown wants to go with that starting five and what it means for the trickle-down effect for the rest of the Knicks roster.
How do you view this, Perk?
It shouldn't be a damn storyline, not if you're trying to win and contend for a title. And this is the reason that they got their asses kicked last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, because they was actually playing against a team that played a gender-free basketball and sacrifice. When you're trying to win, it's about sacrificing. One, it's not about who starts, it's about who finished the game, who wants to be in there when it matters the most. Two, what is the most important piece that's going to get you over the hump? Who is that person? It is Karl Anthony Towns. How can you put him in the best position possible defensively? You know how? By letting him play the four. Don't have Karl Anthony Towns being your five and your center to be your anchor defensively. We saw the success that he had when he was in Minnesota playing alongside Rudy Gobert and letting Rudy take on all the defensive assignments. If I'm Mike Brown, this is not even a question. I start Mitchell Robinson. And if it's about winning, everyone has to fall in line. If it's about accomplishing a goal that's bigger than any individual, the best thing for them to do is to protect Cat, protect his defensive liabilities, and the only way to do that is by starting Mitchell Robinson alongside Karl Anthony Towns
The
for
only
defensive purposes.
The only thing I'll add real quick to that, Perk, is everybody did say all the right things yesterday. Like Josh Hart said, whatever decision Mike Brown wants to make, I'm not worried about starting or not, even though I think I'm a starter in the league. The thing I think will be interesting is, to your point, what does Mike Brown want to do with this team, and how does he want to deploy his players? That's where I think it's going to be an interesting storyline to see what he wants to do with this roster, not how the guys react.
Sure, and the conversation has been a lot about health for the New York Knicks as well, and Mitchell Robinson has been a part of that conversation. So when you look at their depth and the options that they have, part of that is protecting them from themselves. Bobby Marks, what does their depth actually look like here?
Well, I think with New York, certainly when you add Malcolm Brogdon and return Landry Shamet and Jordan Clarkson, Gershon on the other side, there's a lot of different ways that New York can go with this roster here. Certainly we're talking about who that fifth starter would be, and we've talked about Mitchell Robinson. I think the big thing, too, to look at is does Mike Brown use Jalen Brunson off the ball a lot more? And you can go with certainly Malcolm Brogdon as far as putting him in there. Tim mentioned Deuce McBride. Here's the thing, Malika. You're in the Eastern Conference. Don't be afraid to experiment with different lineups during this year. Last year, Oklahoma City's most used lineup was not used in the playoffs as far as from a starting perspective. The lineup with certainly with Shea and Case and Wallace, that lineup was used 22 times. Guess what? That lineup did not start in the playoffs at all, and they still wind up winning an NBA championship. So I think for New York, it gives you a lot of different options as far as what you can use, as far as what Mike Brown, he's got the depth that wasn't there last year.
Yep.
You can experiment with different lineups during the year because, as you said, in the Eastern Conference, it is wide open here.
Yeah, that's what they're going to need to utilize, that depth. And like I said, the Knicks preseason schedule right around the corner, right? Starting with the 2025 NBA Abu Dhabi games, New York will play the Philadelphia 76ers twice. They will also face the Timberwolves, the Wizards, the Hornets as well before their season opener. That is on October 22nd against the Cavaliers, another team right there at the top of the Eastern Conference. So speaking of the 76ers, they have plenty of questions heading into the season, but there is one looming roster move that is yet to happen here, Shams, for the 76ers. What more can you tell us?
It's the restricted free agency of Quentin Grimes, and I'm told both of these sides are very far apart on a deal. Quentin Grimes' agent, David Bauman, told me today that it was the first time today that the Sixers made a formal hard offer to Grimes as a restricted free agent. And Bauman added to me that Grimes will not be attending 76ers Media Day on Friday. He also will not be traveling with the team this weekend to Abu Dhabi for preseason. From the 76ers side of this all, getting VJ Edgecombe in the high lottery, obviously that changes the dynamics of their backcourt. And there is a level of uncertainty going into this year, health-wise, with key players like Joel Embiid, Paul George. And where does that leave the Sixers in terms of offering those high-value, high multi-year deals? Where this is really going, where these sides are staring at, is that $8.7 million one-year qualifying offer for Grimes or a sign and trade or potentially 1 year larger deal where Grimes would waive his no trade clause. But this is really heading down the barrel as we get closer to October 1 of a potential qualifying offer deal.
And there's so many questions that the 76ers had. You alluded to the health piece of all of this. This is not another one that they want hanging over their head, and yet here we are. While we're talking about questions that have not yet been answered this offseason, you all know where I'm going with this, right? One more
Here we go.
free agent yet to make the deal. Of course, Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors. I feel like I've asked you this 10 times, and I may ask you 10 more. Where do things stand?
So Jimmy Butler is actually holding a team function, a team mini camp in San Diego this week. This is the first full year of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler all together. One player that is not there, the only player on the potential Warriors roster that isn't there, is a restricted free agent, Jonathan Kuminga. My understanding is he is not appearing at this team function, this camaraderie mini camp in San Diego. This is still at a stalemate. I spoke to Aaron Turner, Kuminga's agent, today, and he told me the player option still remains critical in these conversations. We know about the 3-year, $75 million offer or a 2-year, $45 million offer. Both still have team options in them. Him, just like Grimes, has until October 1st before his decision. But these sides still at a stalemate. Jonathan Kuminga did not appear at the first kind of team-related event the Warriors players had today.
I just appreciate that you called it what it is. It's a function. It's not just a get-together. It's a function for the Golden State Warriors. Shams, thank you. Media Day, though, it's come and gone for 4 of the 30 teams in the NBA. So what do you say? Let's recap some of the highlights, shall we? We're going to start in Brooklyn. That's where new swingman Michael Porter Jr. had some thoughts on his new commute.
The traffic is tough. So I shipped a car out here. I was figuring out, can I drive? And I'm ended up being like, no, the $250 a day of Ubering is worth it out here. You know, 'cause
I had a car in Brooklyn, ain't worth it.
New York is different.
Bobby, any advice for MPJ on handling that New York commute?
Listen, I can save you $240. Get a Metro card here. Get on the subway. Go from Brooklyn to Manhattan here, and you can save a lot of money per day by doing that.
He's got to learn his geography. I live in New York. You can't be spending $250 a day going to the practice center.
Guys, I took an Uber from Vegas to Los Angeles the other day because I had to. What? I feel him on that price. From New York to New Orleans, DeJounte Murray, he spoke yesterday at Media Day. Take a listen.
I could run 10 down and backs in probably 57 seconds. And this is just from all the work, you know what I'm saying? I think I could beat a lot of guys one-on-one right now, if I'm just being honest with you. And that's just the confidence, that's the work I've been doing, like I said, 6 days a week, twice a day. But the beauty of it is, there's no rush. I don't feel rushed by nobody. Everybody's on board. And like I said, I'm just having fun.
Well, that's good. But Shams, DeJounte Murray only played 31 games last year. When could we see him back on the floor for the Pelicans?
Malika, he's making progress. He's doing a lot better. Every single day he's doing a little bit more. But this is an injury that occurred late in January. The surgery for this Achilles tear was early February. So I would look at right after New Year's, that New Year's area, as to where DeJounte Murray can start to pinpoint when he could make his return.
All right, New Year's it is. Sticking with the Pelicans here, new center Kevon Looney asked about his status on his new squad.
I would say Unk age is probably, I played with real Unks that was in a 30, 35. I played with a couple 40-year-olds, so I know what real Unks look like. Shout out my man Andre Iguodala. He was like 45 when he was playing with me. So I would say about 35 is the age you could be considered. In the NBA locker room, 34, 35 is the Unk age in the locker room, not 29.
He's only 29, Perk. Is he really considered Unk status?
Yeah, he's considered Unk. You know what I mean? Once you hit 30, you become Unk and Auntie. You know what I mean?
I was called Auntie yesterday.
Yeah, we're definitely Unk. I was Unk right there. Look, coaching up Braun, getting on this behind.
Perk, I'm 30.
You was called Auntie yesterday?
Yeah, I was born in 1995, and I was told yesterday camp today for their media day. Check out Jalen Green, his new threads there. But no time to rest for our next guest. The governor of both the Suns and the Mercury joins us now, Matt Ishbia. Thank you so much for taking the time to join the show. We really appreciate you.
Good to be here.
Well, the Phoenix Mercury, let's start there, because that come from behind overtime victory against the Minnesota Lynx on Tuesday. It tied the series at 1-1. The moment that Sammy Whitcomb hit that shot, can you just reenact your reaction to that three that she hit at the end of regulation?
Yeah, that was exciting. I was with my daughter and my son, both my kids, and we high-fived and we were excited. But what a great play by her. But just love the resilience coming back and competing. The team never gave up, down by 20 in the third quarter, and they never gave up. And that was a big win. It was fun to watch.
It was one of the biggest comebacks that we've seen in the WNBA playoffs. It was super exciting. We were going crazy in the studio. I really think that is going to turn into a very interesting series. I'm excited to see the rest of it play out. You are very busy, Matt. I want to shift over to the Phoenix Suns now, and specifically talk a little bit about the culture in your front office, right? Because in less than a year, the Phoenix Suns, they've been sued 6 times, right? They've ranged from refusing access to internal documents, discrimination, retaliation, harassment, and wrongful termination. So I just wanted to know, what is the message that you're sending to your employees right now amidst these lawsuits while you're also trying to manage a basketball team?
Yeah, as you know, Malika, obviously anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason they want, for anything they want. How many lawsuits have we actually lost? The answer is 0. How many will we lose? 0. Like, the difference between us and everyone else, first off, I don't have to say anything to our employees or our team members. They all know. They're all part of it. They love the culture, the organization we built. But anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason. The way I look at it a little differently than other people is, we don't settle. We don't settle with someone. You want to say, give me $30,000 and I won't file a lawsuit. I said, file a lawsuit. We didn't do anything wrong. If we do something wrong, we take care of people, but I'm not going to be leveraged by people. And so if someone files a lawsuit, a lot of it's from the previous ownership and previous times before I was even an owner. But either way, we do right by our people all the time, and I feel really great about our front office, our organization in general, both the men's and women's side.
You inherited a culture that you and I sat down exactly 2 years ago, and you told me that you were working to change. And I do understand that takes time. But in that same interview, it was at Suns Media Day, if I'm not mistaken, in your first year as owner of the team, you had just embarked right on the Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, let's call it experiment. And in that interview, you predicted a championship. And I understand that hindsight is 20/20. But what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I learned that we didn't win a championship. We didn't get that one right. But the truth is we learned a lot. I didn't do a good enough job setting the identity and the culture. And you can't just trade. And we made some trades for some talented players. They didn't fit the right way for our organization, not just on the court, but also off the court and the way we're building this. And so now we're doing it a little differently. We have a franchise player in Devin Booker. I love our team. We have an ascending team, young, hungry, grinded out team. And we're excited for how we play this year, but also how we build not only this year, but next year and the year after. And I'm really excited about what we've got now. And we've moved on beyond that experiment, and we're moving forward with a franchise player and a lot of great pieces and a lot of great players around him.
Matt, our senior insider, Shams Charania, is here with me as well. Shams, I know you wanted to ask a question sort of looking at that time and looking forward as well.
Yeah, Matt, in June, you guys made a blockbuster deal, traded away Kevin Durant to Houston. You guys picked up several players. What went into that decision, moving Kevin Durant? And then how do you view those players coming in and what you guys have acquired to kind of set this new stage for the Suns?
Yeah, well, we're really excited about the players we got. Kevin Durant's a great player. There's no one that can ever question that. Just wasn't a fit for what we're doing going forward. Obviously, he's had an amazing career, but he's not a fit for what we're going to do going forward. And we got great players back. With Dylan Brooks, tough-minded, winning type guy. We love that. That's what we had to build out here. Jalen Green, 23-year-old upside, leading scorer and played all 82 games last year. We love Jalen Green. But then we got the 10th pick in Kaman Malawash. We're excited. And with the other picks, we ended up getting Rasheer Fleming, Kobe Bryant. We got 5 players, and we love what we've got for it. So we're looking forward, not looking back. Obviously, it didn't work with Kevin. We wish him the best. But for us, going forward, we love the guys we got. We love what we're building. And it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight, but we feel great about what we've got here in Phoenix going forward.
Well, making a deal for Kevin Durant, Matt, it became a little bit more complicated because you were a team. When you're looking at the luxury tax and the second apron and all of these different things, you couldn't necessarily make the trade that you would have been made a couple of years ago. And one of the biggest storylines of the offseason, it's been the league's investigation into the alleged cap circumvention between Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. Adam Silver, he said he wants to let the investigation play out. Absolutely, the Clippers have that right. But with a level playing field, that's sort of one of the pillars of the league, right? Fairness. How concerned are you about teams trying to circumvent the cap in these sorts of conversations?
Honestly, I'm not that concerned about it, to be honest. I know Steve Ballmer, and I think he's a great guy, and he says he didn't do that. I believe him. Obviously, the NBA is going to do their investigation, but, I don't really think that stuff's rampant. I think there's obviously things that people can say and talk about, but until you actually prove that someone's done something wrong, I believe that things are fair. Everyone's competing with a level playing field and trying to win, right? And just by going over the luxury tax just like we did doesn't guarantee wins, right? As we've seen other times. So, I don't think that's really happening that much, but obviously the NBA will do its own investigation.
Matt, you guys obviously love Devin Booker, and he's committed to you guys for the next 5 years, but he just signed a 2-year, $145 million extension in the offseason. That's the richest contract on an annual basis in NBA history. How do you use his star power and what you've built from a commitment level to build this next championship team in Phoenix and allow him to get back to the finals?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the goal. He's a 28-year-old franchise player, all-time leading scorer in Phoenix. And the best part is he wants to be here just like we want him here. And so he's been here his whole career, hoping he's going to be here for the rest of his career too, doing great things, competing. And it's our job to build the right team around him, and it's his job to lead them.
Has he, doubled down to you behind closed doors? He's been clear that Phoenix means a lot to him, but this team has changed a lot in his tenure. He's seen so many head coaches in his time with the Suns here. Has he said to you behind closed doors that he still wants to play his entire career in Phoenix?
Absolutely. Devin wants to be here. We want Devin here. He's been part of it for the whole time. I talk to Devin all the time. We're very aligned on what we believe and how we want to build this. And listen, we've tried some things and they haven't worked, but he knows that I care and that we want to win and we have the same goals and mindset. He's one of the best players in the NBA and we want to continue to help him. And so we're going to try to win and compete at the highest level, and we're completely aligned.
Matt, I know this is an incredibly busy day for you. We really appreciate the time. The best of luck this season, both the Mercury, the end of the season, and for the Phoenix Suns for the duration of the season. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Point guard, take a listen.
He seems like he's a versatile player, and the biggest thing that I want to do for him is try to get him, as well as everybody else, easy shots. And one of the easiest shots in the game of basketball is a spray three. I'm a big proponent of touching the paint and spraying that basketball for a catch and shoot three. And so within what we do, we're going to try to get him a lot of those.
Obviously, everyone being new to this is going to take some time, but very excited to get to learn more and understand his philosophies and his concepts. And I think once we get started, we're going to get off to the right path.
I'm excited for this team. We have great depth that gives us a chance to feel good about any part of the season, whatever the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs that go on, that we have a team that's fully ready to go regardless of the situation.
Dive in there. Shams Charania, Brian Windhorst, and Kendrick Perkins, of course, joining me as well. Our front office insider, Bobby Marks, he will be by in just a minute. Brian, there's a lot there. The Knicks diving straight into the X's and O's of the season. What was your biggest takeaway? What do you think fans should know after listening to the Knicks today?
Well, Malika, I am very fluent in training camp speak, so let me translate this for all of our viewers. The Knicks are planning on making a very long playoff run, and so they want to begin September and October thinking about May and June. They don't want to say it like that, but they know that Jalen Brunson has one of the biggest workloads in the NBA. He actually was 17th in minutes last year, but he led the league in dribbles. You know what that means? It means that he did a lot of work in his time, and frankly, the idea of playing him less minutes than that is not likely, especially when he's the clutch player of the year and your team is built largely around him finishing games. So from October onward, they know they're not going to be able to play him less, but they want to stress him out less over the course of the next 6 months. Whether or not they actually follow through with it, we'll wait and see, but that's what the plan that Mike Brown and Jalen Brunson are essentially talking about.
Well, if they plan on playing in June, I definitely don't want to hear about they sweet nothings about the offensive end. That's not the problem. I want to hear about defense. If you're going to play in the June, you got to be able to defend, and it starts with your two stars. And right now I'm looking at Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns on what they did last year, smothered chicken, oxtails, and sweet potato pie. That's how sweet they are defensively. You look at Karl-Anthony Towns and you look at some numbers right here. He ranked 43rd out of 50 qualified players in field goal percentage allowed. He was getting scored on 60% of the time. If the Knicks are going to take that leap, getting to the NBA Finals, trying to win a championship, it's going to be because of Karl Anthony Towns and his ability to be able to anchor the defense. We know that he's one of the most skilled bigs to play offensively of all time. One of the best, if not best, shooting big to play the game of basketball. But defense wins championships, and that's what I want to hear from now to this start, going into training camp, all the way throughout the course of the season, when Mike Brown addressed this team as the defensive side of things.
Well, there was another D word that came up a lot for the New York Knicks last year, and that was depth, Perk. This Knicks team, of course, it kept its core together, but they also added new bench pieces, and you have said that you wanted to see, particularly in the regular season, leaning a little bit more on the bench. So what else, Shams, needs to be done for this team before they start the season if they're going to have the long playoff run that Brian is saying that they're looking toward?
Yeah, Malika, the Knicks need to finalize multiple key positions on their bench, and that's two players, Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet. Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet both signed deals with the intent and the plan for them both to be on the roster on opening night in this regular season. Brogdon, I'm told he's expected to play a key bench role in the rotation. Landry Shamet's a guy you can kind of plug and play whenever you need a player on the wing to eat up some minutes as the season goes on. He's also well respected, but how do you do that? They have a lot of cap issues right now that they've got to work through. What does that mean? But both those players signed a deal. They're expected to be on this team.
When you talk about flexibility, I think of Bobby Marks, not because he can do the splits, but because he makes sure that we understand the financial flexibility. He is here with us now. Bobby, when we take a look at the Knicks depth chart here, Mike Brown has said he's not sure who the fifth starter is going to be. How are they going to utilize them?
Well, listen, when we look at the players that are underlined, this is the starting lineup from last year. The second most points per game since 1986 and 87. They joined Denver last year. We talked about depth. Look at all this depth they went out. Certainly Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet. They bring back Miles McBride, and they signed Jordan Clarkson. I think there's some big questions here when we're looking at the Knicks offseason. I think there's four different things here. It's NBA Finals or bust when we're looking at it. I equate it almost to what Detroit did 20 years ago. Rick Carlisle out, Larry Brown in. They go out and win a championship. Who's the fifth starter? Is it going to be Josh Hart or certainly Mitchell Robinson? The revamped bench, last in minutes per game. And who is the odd man out in a trade? We're almost on the 1-year anniversary of the Karl Anthony Towns trade. It's not going to be as big, but New York does have to make a trade because of the second apron to keep Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet on this roster.
It's fascinating that even for a team that we talk about as 1 or 2 in the Eastern Conference, they still have this much left to address. Bobby, any splits for the road? No?
No.